Good evening, hockey fans from around the Nicola Valley. Welcome to the show where you can stay up to date on everything Merritt Centennials, Talking Sense. I'm your host and play-by-play broadcaster for the Merritt Centennials, Jared Thomas. It's been a long summer, 163 days in fact, since the Centennials were eliminated at the hands of the eventual BCHL champions, the Penticton Vs. And there were quite a few developments over the long summer. A couple of key players the Cents were hoping would return to the team were drafted in the BCHL's rival league, the United States Hockey League, the USHL. Tyler Ward, Mike Regish, and Zach Metza have all moved on to the perceived greener pastures of that league and won't be returning to the Centennials. And it may have you thinking, well, who is returning? Good thing the Cents revealed their roster this week, and we can get into it, and I can give you some insight into some of the players that are coming on board for the 2017-18 season and some of the new players that have been acquired and made the team out of camp. Returning to the team on forward will be Henry Cleghorn, Chase Bell, Rylan Van Unen, Zach Court, Zach Zorn, and Nick Wicks. Taking a look at their stat sheets, the biggest goal scorer from last season was Zach Court. He only lit the lamp 11 times but had 23 assists. And so far through camp and preseason, he has looked excellent. And I've noticed him on nearly every shift. Smooth skating, willing to get to those dirty areas or find his teammates in excellent position. He's a great bet to make another step in this, his final year with the Cents. And head coach and general manager Joe Martin agrees.
20-year-old player. We expect a lot of Zach and didn't think he was going to be there this year. I think he was going to be in college, but a good player to have back for us.
Following Court, we have Henry Cleghorn, who scored 16 goals last season and had 14 helpers. He's seen as more of a two-way guy, which is what head coach and general manager Joe Martin loves, but he has that ability to find the net, and that will be needed as one of the biggest questions coming into the season will be goal scoring.
It's going to be by committee. We're not going to have one or two all-star guys. It's going to be a whole group of players, and I'm hoping that we have one or two players that really jump out of the gates and lead the team and hope for the league in the scoring areas. But more importantly, got to find ways to win hockey games, and to do that, we definitely need to be a group.
The group will be rounded out by some new faces on the Cents roster, and when the question of goal scoring is asked, it could be that some of these new players may hold the answer as well. The Cents made a couple signings over the summer in Brendan Schneider, Matthew Copperwood, and Ashton Stockey. Matthew Copperwood, out of the Pursuit of Excellence program and Denver native, may be one of those players that could light the lamp, as he's shown it a couple times through camp and preseason. Last season, in 45 games, he had 25 goals and 30 assists. Along with the acquisition of Ashton Stockey, who has also tallied a couple times in preseason as well, he had 34 points last season with his team in Kitchener, Ontario. Either way, Martin did well to stock up over the summer.
All our new guys, Schneider, Copperwood, Stockey, they're all good players.
And the players acquired over the summer up front will be joined by the players who impressed enough at camp in the forward ranks. Americans Jack Vincent and Christian Sabin. Then there's the Canadian Alex Borja. And the Norwegian, all the way from Norway, McCullen Astle. Having watched the team whittle down from over 60 players down to these 23, I can tell you with certainty that the Cents got the cream of the crop. We've broken down the forwards so far in Talking Cents, and in a moment we'll talk about the defensemen who will be joining the Cents next season. All to come on Talking Cents with me, Jared Thomas. Welcome back to Talking Cents. I'm your host, Jared Thomas. In the first segment, we talked about the forwards who will be joining the Centennials for the 2017-18 campaign. We've heard about the offense, but let's move on to the defensive end. On defense, the Cents will only have two returnees. Tyrell Buckley, of course, Mr. Clutch in that Penticton series, and Mike Van Unen. Both capable defenders. They have that element of two-way defensemen. Buckley kicked in 2 goals, 16 assists last season, and had 2 goals, 2 assists in the playoffs. But over the summer, Coach Martin and his staff, they signed Jackson Monroe of the Junior B Richmond Sockeyes, and they traded for Joey Berkopec on the back end. Berkopec came by way of future considerations, so essentially the Sens got him for nothing or in exchange of a future player to be named. And both players have looked impressive, Monroe and Berkopec, but Joey Berkopec may have the most potential. Here's what Coach Martin had to say about what Berkopec brings to the table.
But he has the attributes to make him a very elite defenseman, we feel, in our hockey league. He skates really well. He's got a brain for the game and makes a lot of smart decisions. Sees things kind of 2 or 3 steps ahead of what's happening on the ice, and that can really help.
The defensive core will be rounded out by Jake Borgita, Sam Miller, Mateus Del Monte, and should injuries arise, Martin signed defenseman Kevin McBean to an affiliate player or AP player card. Then, of course, you have the goaltenders for the year. Coming back to the team is the familiar face of Jacob Berger, who really started to find his stride late in the preseason and late last season as well. Coming in to back him up, maybe share goaltending duties at times should Berger falter, is Vincent Duplessis, all the way from Quebec. He really impressed early in camp and never stopped. He's a really solid positional goaltender who also has the reaction time to make those saves when he has to. Here's how Coach Martin feels about the goaltending moving forward.
We're encouraged with our goaltending. Both have played well. Jake played really well at the end, and Vincent had some time throughout the exhibition season and played well in all of his games. So we've got some good young men back there that are both quality players.
And the goaltenders round out the current roster for the Merritt Centennials. Talking to Joe Martin, he had one simple criterion for players who made the team.
We're not looking for players that just want to play in the BCHL and want to wear a tracksuit or a jersey and just think that good things are going to happen to them just because they're here. We need guys that are going to go out there and be impactful.
Coach Martin likes the look of his squad from top to bottom. The same old familiar refrain that you've come to expect from the Centennials will be there all season long.
I think the thing that makes us a good hockey team this year and exciting to watch is how hard our team's going to play and how competitive they will be.
These young men have proven it. They're good people and they play well. They'll be in a good spot to stay with us.
We'll get to see the roster live in action on Friday night when the Penticton V's come to town at 7 p.m. at the Nicola Valley Memorial Arena. And I caught up with new play-by-play man for the V's, Craig Boscheman, and he gave me the lowdown on the V's, what he likes about the Sens, and even a little preview at the Wild as well. That's all to come on Talking Sense with me, Jared Thomas. Welcome back to Talking Sense. I'm Jared Thomas. We're joined now by play-by-play man for the Penticton V's, Craig Boscheman. Now, Craig, you've seen the V's from both sides as you were the play-by-play man for the Powell River Kings last season. What was your impression and what you expected from the V's when you had a game coming up against them?
Well, I think everyone always knows that they're going to be one of the top teams, not only in the BCHL, but maybe even in the entire country. So, when you see them play, in person, you really get a sense of how well run that hockey team is. And last year, obviously, I think they were sort of built on the strength of Matt Robson and what he was able to do in net and pretty much just shut down opposing teams whenever he wanted to, it seemed like. So it might be a different-looking team this year. I mean, I think they're hoping that they're going to be able to inject some more offense in the team this year and maybe not have to rely on the goaltenders to win the 2-1 or 1-0 games like they did Game 7 overtime against Chilliwack in the final. So hoping for some more offense this year, and then the way it's shaking up so far and watching them in scrimmages and in preseason games, it certainly seems like they're going to be able to score goals this year.
So now that you've seen a bit of the team in the preseason, what has you excited?
I think the defense core is unbelievable. I mean, you got these two guys who were drafted into the NHL, and then Nicky Lieberman was a 7th-round pick by Colorado, and Ryan O'Connell was another 7th-round pick by the Toronto Maple Leafs. And just watching those guys play, I mean, they're paired together, and they play on the power play at the blue line, and just the way that they can, not only shoot the puck, it's one-timers, it's wrist shots, it's snap shots, it's quick passes from one side of the ice to the other in split seconds, and even defensively as well, they're so good with their sticks, and they're able to angle guys off and not allow them to get to the center of the ice and get good shooting lanes and things like that. So you've got those two guys in there who obviously are NHL draft, and then you've got a younger guy in Luke Reed who is not even 16 years old. He's still going to be 15 for the first 4 games of the season, and is a top prospect for the 2019 NHL draft. So everyone around here on the coaching staff is so high on what Luke Reed is able to do, and it's going to be so much fun to watch the whole defense score this whole season long. And I really think that's going to be the bread and butter of the Vs this year.
Jared Thomas talking with the play-by-play man for the Penticton Vs this season, Craig Beauchemin, and his thoughts on the Centennials.
I think they enjoy having that underdog role a little bit because they might think that other teams are going to take them lightly, and then when the game starts, they're one of the hardest working teams you'll see. And this year it's going to be a bit different. They unfortunately lost so much offense with some of the guys taken off to the United States, but I think on the flip side of that, it just allows some other guys to come in who want to prove that whether or not there were spots open for unfortunate circumstance that they belong to play in this league, and they can be successful in this league and cause problems for other teams. So I think any team, not just the Vs, but any team is going to have to make sure they don't underestimate what the Merritt Centennials do this year, and they're going to play that same style of hockey, hardworking and making sure that they're not giving up no matter what the score is or no matter who they're playing. So it's not going to be an easy season series, and should these two teams match up in the playoffs again like they did last year with Penticton and Merritt, I think it's going to be some fun hockey.
So we got Wenatchee coming in the night after you guys. What can fans expect from the Wild?
Well, it's so strange because last year they had such a good team. They had all these guys, and Brendan Harris and Charlie Combs, who I think led the league in points and goals respectively. But those two guys are gone this year. They got a new goalie. I think maybe even 2 new goalies for this year. And then last time I checked, their roster wasn't up online. So, and with them moving to the interior division, it's a much more difficult division to play in than in the mainland division, because you've got teams like Coquitlam and Surrey, who admittedly had pretty tough years last year, and I think Wenatchee was able to sort of feast off them and bump up those goal totals and point totals. So with them coming into this division and playing against all very good teams in the interior division, it'll be interesting to see how they adjust as well, and then how teams in the division adjust to playing Wenatchee more often instead of just once or twice a year.
That's Talking Sense for this week. Join me next week on Monday for the recap and the preview of what happened this weekend, or join me at the rink Friday and Saturday, as at 7 p.m. the Centennials have a doubleheader. First, it's the Penticton Vs on Friday, then the Wenatchee Wild on Saturday. For Talking Sense, go Sense go! I'm Jared Thomas.